biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend and what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. Men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
Yo, what's going on? We're back for another Chopping It Up, episode 39. Moff's got a bunch of questions from some viewers and community members. What's up, brother?
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, you guys just did Tough Mudder. Tell everybody what that was all about. How did that go?
Yeah, so this is the third one we've done. Started off as a smaller meetup a couple years ago. Last year we did Nashville. It had 20-something guys. This year we did, due to some scheduling issues, we had to move it. We did it in Minneapolis, which, if you guys know anything about Democrat-run cities in the U.S., it's kind of a dump of a town, of a place. It was pretty gross. But we did the 5K the first 2 years, and this is the first year that we did the 15K. So it was all in all 10-plus miles of running, probably 25 to 30 obstacles. And yeah, it was a good time. It was definitely strenuous, really physically difficult. Yeah, it's definitely not screwing around. So a lot of teamwork, a lot of great team building. Everybody did great. Nobody quit. Nobody complained. No, nothing like that. So it was a great way for these guys to test themselves. And a couple of guys that ran are going to be doing the the second annual Valor Immersion Project San Diego event that we do out there in a couple of weeks. So this one's in the rear view and getting ready for the next one. So we're kind of in our busy event season now, but it's been good.
What was the total length from start to finish for like the 15 miles?
Well, 15 km, right? So 15 kilometers, I think totally. They said, I mean, if you do the math, I don't know exactly what that is. I think it's something like 9.3, 9.4, but they had on the signs something like 10 plus miles. So I don't know what the exact distance was. We lined up at about 11 Eastern. We lined up at like 11 o'clock in the morning. And we probably were waiting in line for 20-ish minutes or so. And we ran for about 4 hours, so like 11:30 to 3:30. And because there's a lot of people, you got to wait in line for the obstacles. There's some that take a while for people to get through, so you get a nice little break. But there's some where you have to do a chain or a pyramid of guys like 6 or 7 people tall. You've got to crawl under electrified wires. You get muddy and dirty and all that kind of stuff. But it's it's a good time, and it's not the longest stretch of running, probably half mile, but you multiply that times 30, it adds up, maybe not 30, but whatever the distance, it just adds up. So the first 2/3 were not horrible, but the last 3 or 4 miles, man, legs are starting to shut down, calves are tightening up, your knees are starting to catch on fire. So it's not for the weak, not for the faint of heart by any stretch.
Yeah. Men tested again. Good. All right. So what do we got for tonight? We got a few questions. I did a post on the community tab or whatever on the channel. I mean, there's quite a few over there as well too. So we can start with like whatever you want.
Yeah, I saw some of those. I mean, there were a couple ones that were good. I might kind of go back and forth. But this is one that I thought was good to start off with. It's called How to Stay Calm. So, guys, this is an area that I struggle with. I'd like to elevate myself. So I'm looking for some feedback here. So I'm looking for advice on how to stay calm in situations where I know that I'm correct or right 100%. And even questioning it makes zero sense, but the other person fails to see it. I generally tend to shut down the conversations because for me, it's easier to not deal with BS and explain the obvious to people who fail to see even their own lies, but I realize it's not the best way to go about it. I see examples about this on the Ladies Night podcast. I've watched a couple episodes and I realized that I would not be able to sit out a conversation like some of those I've seen. And I respect a lot about how guys like Moff and Rich, TC, and Spencer can stay calm and centered around the logical points, even if they have to explain it many times. I've never seen Rich lose his temper, and it shows with these women. Just using this as examples. I think that I've improved a little bit, but I'm still not where I should be. What advice do you have?
Well, first of all, I do have a temper, but I wouldn't call it a temper. I call it a swift reaction to bullshit. And I usually reserve it for times when it's absolutely necessary. I learned in the last couple of years that it's often crueler, especially to those that you're trying to have these difficult conversations with, to be cool with them, especially women. Like women try to push your buttons, get under your skin. They want to get an emotional reaction out of you. Any reaction, especially an emotional one, is better than nothing or coolness. They hate coolness. So remember, it's always crueler to be cool. You just got to get, you got to get into stoicism, man. Like I remember when I was like a younger guy, I used to get road rage. I don't know about you, man, but that notion of road rage, like sort of like came up when I was probably in my 20s. Like they started talking about road rage, and there's a chapter in my book about managing your F's and only dispensing the F's for things that are truly F worthy, and realizing that it's like a source of energy, or you've only got so many F's to dispense in a day. And if you're just throwing, anger and energy at everything, for engagement, then you don't value it. Like anything you throw around like that has no value. And people don't take you seriously when you snap and you have a temper. It's just one of those things that you have to get good at. Like the older you get, just get better at, controlling your emotions. It's one of the things that I've learned from lawyers is being able to control your emotions. You guys know my ex-wife is a lawyer. A lot of my friends are lawyers. Lawyers are very, very good at having conversations in acrimonious type of conditions where you'd think there'd be some yelling and chest beating and D-swinging and that sort of stuff. And it's like, just takes practice, man. Just takes practice.
Yeah, my take on this is it's always about problem solving. Getting mad, getting angry, getting frustrated. Are any of those moving you closer to the outcome that you want? There was a situation recently where, I book a lot of Verbos. I book a lot of Airbnbs. When we do trips, I put everything in my name. So I take on all the risk. I pay for it. I put it on my credit card, and then guys pay me in the back end. But I'm hosting some guys down here in Tampa for a trip in the next couple of weeks. And, we booked the house, and it's hard to find a place where you can sleep 12 to 15 guys comfortably, where dudes don't have to, be in twin bunk beds or have on pull-out couches and things like that. So found a decent place, paid the money, and the host texted me like a week later, or a couple weeks later, says, "Oh, we accidentally overbooked you, and we can't." It was like a glitch in the system. And I was like, okay, like go ahead and cancel. Like, oh, we can't cancel it on you because we would get penalized by Verbo. So you have to cancel it. And then on Verbo, it goes, well, if you cancel it, you're not going to get your money back. I'm like, well, something's fishy. Like, this isn't my problem. This isn't my mistake. And in that moment, and then she's this woman, the host, is like texting me, trying to say like, oh, here's a couple other properties. And, I'm pissed and I'm frustrated, but it's like, okay, fine. Like, it's not going to solve anything. It's not going to get me the house back. I need to get on my laptop. And within 20 minutes, I spent, found a new house, better house. Yeah, it cost a little bit more money, but that was fine, but got it solved. And, I wanted to rip into this woman and say like, this is unacceptable. Like, this is not our problem, but I fixed the issue. And guess what? I wasn't mad anymore. I was like, okay, no problem. All good. So understand, like, when you're mad about this kind of stuff, like your anger about these kind of things, and when you're having conversations with these people, it's a little bit of a different situation, but man, just you have to ask yourself, why bother? And it comes with practice, right? It absolutely comes with practice. But you get to a point where Jack Donovan put out a great article recently about honor and about guys that are in your honor circle. And when you are allowing somebody that's not in your honor circle to have any judgments against you or your life or try to argue about this, you're basically bestowing upon them the right to do so. If you take their criticism seriously, you're basically crowning them and saying, you're part of this circle. I take your opinion seriously. And you just don't have to do that. Right. So, takes practice. You very rarely are going to win over people by blowing up and being emotional and things like that. And like, I've had my moments on ladies' night. Like, I'm not a perfect saint. Everybody knows that. But you realize that it's not getting you closer to the outcome that you want. It's not going to get you any closer to solving your problem, unless solving the problem is like, let's see who can get the most mad. But, very rarely is that going to be something that makes any sense.
Yeah. Just one more thing I was thinking about. It's okay to get mad. Anger is a legitimate response in the face of an injustice. Totally fine. Reserve it for when it's useful, like when it leverages you to a better position. More often than not, you're just pissing into the wind. Like, you're not doing anything with it. It's just spinning tires. It's like smoke. You're just making all this commotion and stuff like that. It's like, you use anger to your advantage. And if you're going to make a theatrical display about it, you should get your way. You should win the argument. And it should be like one of those things like, wow, never seen Rich do that before. Must be serious. And they fucking pay attention, sort of thing. That's how it goes for me anyway.
Yeah. And if you're always flipping out, then no one's going to then it's like, oh, this is just par for the course. Yeah. But if you're like this 80% of the time, 90% of the time, and then you see it go up to 10, it's like, oh, wow, something's different. Something got set off. Maybe it's time to clue in and pay attention. So yeah, that makes sense. Next one is balance between holding frame and being an ass. I like this question a lot. I'm new here and I've only been working on myself for a little while. I read Rich's book cover to cover, and now I'm applying the concepts and techniques, and I've already noticed a difference. But something that's been coming up pretty frequently is, how can I hold my frame of being laser focused at work / home / gym without being a dick to others? I understand that I have to make myself my own mental point of origin, and some people will be offended when I tell them no or disregard their conversations. But I've always been easygoing and compliant up to this point. Maybe I'm just noticing the difference. How can I hold my frame and boundaries with the people in my life in the unplugged way? There's a side note here. I find myself being bitter at women in my life because of their incessant nature to poke and prod at my sense of competence and frame. Any tips to deal with that as well?
I mean, that's just chicks.
Yeah, right. Get used to it, dude. That's the tip. It's not going away.
I mean, Jeff Bezos just spent $50 million to basically have a wedding to a 55-year-old hoe in fucking Italy. And I'm sure he's, he puts up with crap too. There's no guy that doesn't put up with crap. There's a world famous meme out there that you can find with like this picture of this like stunning 10 out of 10. And like the caption beneath it is, somewhere some guy is tired of her shit too. So, just get to the part that, women will push your buttons, or they're going to do things that will push your buttons. You don't have to let them push the buttons, but that stoicism, that whole, it's crueler to be cooler with this sort of thing. Like, you'll get to it eventually. It just takes practice. It's a very similar question to the last one though.
Well, there's a caveat to this. And so I thought this was extra interesting because I asked him for a follow-up because, I don't typically like to indulge in questions that deal in the abstract. Like I asked, it's like, if you're going to ask a question, it needs to be about a specific situation, a specific problem, because then and only then am I going to be able to answer this and give you any directed feedback. Yeah. So I kind of followed up to him. It's like, okay, what's the deal? What do you mean by this? He goes, okay, well, here's an example. And you're going to laugh, but one example is my mother. I just moved back into my parents' house after splitting with my ex-wife. She's constantly trying to talk to me about silly things like new pool toys she bought or plans she has. Anytime I enter a room, she's got to invite me into the conversation or ask me a question. She stated how I seem different and got angry at me. said that she wants reciprocation and connection, to which I didn't acknowledge, and I kept going about my business. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's frustrating as she's zapping my energy when I'm around her.
Your mom will zap your energy, man. It's just how it is. You just like don't live with your parents. That's one of the reasons why you're supposed to be an adult and move out. I get, sometimes shit goes sideways and you get divorced or your business folds and you got to file bankruptcy and go back home for a bit or something like that. But that should be motivation enough for you to just get the hell out of the house. It's like, it's their house and, they're used to being your parent and they're going to do parenty things. And you don't like it, move the hell out. It's simple.
Yeah, that's what I was like, look, man, you're living at your parents' house. They own your ass. It's their house. It's their roof. It's their rules. Yeah. You don't get to, it reminded me of the courtroom scene of A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson's character. It's, you're so arrogant, you don't get to rise and sleep under the blanket of freedom that I provide and then question the matter in which I provide it. Like that's what you're doing at this point, dude. So, yeah, you're going to have to suck it up for a while until you can get your own place, get your own freedom and get that stuff back. But yeah, I mean, that sums it up. Like, don't live with your parents. That's why you need to get the hell out.
It's funny. I was thinking the other day because I was talking to my brother about it. It's like, I could live with my dad, no problem. My mom, forget about it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is I got a car question for you, actually. So actually this came up today. So, I mean, it's not a long one, but thoughts on the C8 Corvette. Is it a poor man's Ferrari or an actual supercar? I like fast cars, but I will never lose my frugal nature. The C8 gets me in the ballpark at a fraction of the cost. What are your thoughts?
So you had a C8 Corvette a couple of years ago when we met up in Tampa and we went over to Rich Graham's to do the Navy SEAL firearms training. And I drove it for a bit. I grabbed it by its its neck and I beat the shit out of it.
Took it right to the line. Yeah.
Yeah. When I say that I drive something, I grab it by the scruff of the neck and I beat the shit out of it. Just so you guys are clear on that. If you ever say, hey, here's the keys to my car.
Let's go for a drive. Yeah. What you're getting yourself into.
I'm going to see what it's made of. It's still a Corvette. Like, it's still cheap inside. It still feels plasticky. I don't like the layout. I don't like the buttons all the way down the side. It's big bang for the buck. The one that I would have would be the Z06 because that one sounds amazing. Like, they basically reverse engineered the Ferrari 458 and they beat it in every metric. But it doesn't have a Ferrari badge. So yeah, it's still a poor man's exotic, no matter how you slice it up. I saw a very well optioned Z06 at a car show about a year ago, carbon fiber, wherever you could order it, but it still looked plasticky and cheap to me. I mean, keep in mind, I had a McLaren 720 at the time, and like every piece of carbon fiber in that thing looks amazing. The whole car looks fucking sick. It's like a spaceship. And then you see a Corvette and it's like, you look at it and you go, it goes fast. It sounds good. It looks exotic. It'll probably fool most people that don't know cars. But car guys know, and that you paid less for it, and it is what it is. But if you're a frugal guy and that's all you want to spend, then blow it. But I mean, if you had the money, you'd buy a McLaren. If you had the money, you'd buy a Porsche. If you had the money, you'd buy what you can afford. I've always figured, like, if you're going to spend less than 4 or 5% of what you got sort of sitting around, investments and cash and crypto and everything that you might own, with real estate and shit like that, on a nice car, like, at least buy a car that's going to hold its value pretty good. And a Porsche holds its value really good. The 911 Turbo was like, that's why I went from McLaren to Porsche, because I got killed on the depreciation of the McLaren, but I also put a shitload of kilometers on it because I drove it for rallies. But the Porsche will hold its value better. It's not as exotic. It's not as exciting to drive, but it's still just as fast. It brakes probably better. Off the line, it's probably faster. But in most conditions, it's just as fast as an exotic like a McLaren. The new ZR1 Corvette, very interesting. I'm very interested in that because I do realize that when you put miles on cars on rallies, they take damage. There's a lot of stones that get kicked up when you're chasing down your buddy, or you're leading and you're passing people and stuff like that. So they take quite a bit of damage. So like a Z06 or a ZR1 could potentially be something you see with me in the future. I don't know. But I'm going to hold on to the Porsches for now.
essentially when it comes to cars, you get what you pay for, right? So
Yeah.
if you're going to get a Boxster, like you're going to get a Boxster car. If you're going to get a 911 turbo, you're going to get a 911 turbo, right? So this is my personal, because we don't talk a lot about cars. I'm not much of a car guy. Everybody knows I drive an Altima. But all right, so I'm going to get in the supercar game. What is like the entry level car that I want where I'm going to get head nods and not made fun of? Maybe it's not a 720S, but it's also not, a Corvette. It's not a Boxster.
What's your budget?
It's not, I don't know, 100, 150.
Head
R8
nods,
maybe?
you want a nice car that's fast. The answer is always Porsche.
Yeah.
911 turbo, 911 GT3. You're going to buy one. It's a few years older. But it'll hold its value pretty good. GT3 has an amazing sounding engine. I'll tell you what a really good deal is right now is the Porsche Spider RS. So I've got one in my garage. It's that red car that you see on my social media.
Sick.
I paid 300 Canadian for it. You can buy them now for 225. Porsche announced, and it sounds like it's firm now, that they're not going to be making any more petrol-powered 718s, which is the Boxster Cayman lineup. They're all going to be electric going forward. And they put the GT3 race motor in it, which is very rare. We've been waiting fucking 25 years for them to do something like this, and they finally done it. I've talked to a few people about this, so I think that right now, like if you can get your hands on a Spider RS, you'll probably do pretty good. They'll probably go back up in value. Don't quote me on that. Not investment advice, but I love that car. Like I've got an 800 horsepower Turbo S in my garage, and I got a Spider RS, and I drive the Spider more than a Turbo S.
Big time. Let's grab Claudia's question. Thought I would ask, if a couple gets divorced, how does it work when someone wants to keep the house? Does the other pay out 50%? How could anyone afford it? Thanks.
Well, if a house becomes matrimonial property and it's outside of a prenup, then you split it. So you either buy out the other person on an appraised value that you both agree on, which is problematic because usually what ends up happening is the person that wants the buyout wants the highest value possible. The person that's taken the buyout usually wants a different appraisal. And then you have the argument of who appraises the property. Is it somebody that you know that appraises the property? Like I know somebody personally whose house, if he sold it out of the market, would have sold for 1.4 or 1.5 when they were getting divorced. The ex-wife, or the soon-to-be ex at the time, had it appraised for 1.2 and change, which was bullshit. So he ended up just giving her the buyout and ate it. It's like, cost $100,000 to get off the fucking, just to get out of it, sort of thing. Like that's your pound of meat. And then the other way to do it is just put the house on the market and split it. But you lose a lot of control. And I talk about this in the divorce course. You guys can find the divorce course if you go to any of my social media, link in bio in the link tree. You can get the divorce course. It's less than $200. So if you're planning on getting divorced, you need it. But I talk about a lot of the details in there, but you give up a lot of control if you leave the matrimonial home. So if she's like, just get out of the house, go to your brother's house, go to your mom's house, go rent an Airbnb or some shit, just get out of my space. And you're just like, yeah, bitch. And you just want to get out of the house and move out. Then all of a sudden you've basically walked away from the matrimonial home and you've lost a lot of control as far as when that sells, how much is going to sell for. Maybe she changes the lock on a house, maybe she makes a false rape accusation, DV, whatever the hell it happens to be. So the advice that most lawyers will give guys is just to stay in the matrimonial home, but just move into like spare bedroom, guest room, guest house, basement, apartment, whatever the hell it happens to be. And then just stay there until you work out a deal on the value of the house, whether you buy, you get bought out or you sell the house or whatever happens to be, but you have leverage when you're still in a house because your presence in the house is it's like pissing on the flame of her moving on, sort of thing. So it's like, that's why you do it. It sucks. It's stupid. Family law forces you to do that. Like, it's not good when you're around children. It's a bad look, but that's just how it is. So yeah,
one of the things that I've learned, obviously not going through this process myself, but do everything. And what if for whatever reason guys don't do this? I mean, they don't know any better, I guess. But staying in the matrimonial home as long as possible, if at all possible, because once you're out, like you're kind of done. You're not going to get the house. It's like, well, if you're the breadwinner and you're the guy that's paying for it, you're paying for the mortgage or you're paying for the rent or whatever while she lives there, can bring other strange men into your house. And it's like, oh, well, the lawyers and the judge is going to look at this. Oh, well, you've already been out of the house for 2 years. So you'll just continue to be out of the house and like she'll pay you out for it. And because they tend to sympathize with women anyway, you're going to get doubly screwed. You're not going to get probably a fair value of what you paid into it for the house. And B, you don't have any chance of keeping it. So, if at all possible, and to your point, it sucks and it's shitty, but try to stay in the house as long as possible if you want it. If you don't care about the house, then I guess screw it, bounce. But it's an asset that should not be parted with lightly. But a lot of guys don't realize, because like, oh, well, I'm just going to pack my stuff and I'm going to go over to a buddy's place, or I'm just going to get out of it. And like, that might be it. That might be the last time you ever set foot in that house. Mm-hmm. So, she'll send for your things and that'll be that. So, but that's why the DV stuff is so dangerous, because if the cops call and if you don't have video evidence or any evidence backing up that she was the aggressor or that you didn't do anything to her, even if you do, in most cases, you're getting removed from the house. And once that happens, you have very little recourse on what happens after the fact.
Facts.
All right. Here's a little bit of a long one. I thought this one was kind of interesting. This is about measuring GBD on a date. So, hey guys, I've been out of the dating scene as I'm busy landing deals in my business, but I just got back a week ago, booking 2 dates per week, multiple matches on dating apps, and mixing up dating schedules with different women. I had a chick come over last night. She's feminine, agreeable, caring, religious, and even mentioned before the date that she's not into hookups and one-night stands. We went on a motorcycle ride through some nice places in the city. She liked riding experience a lot. She held my chest from behind, playfully pinching my abs, cracking jokes, and making the ride more fun. I escalated. She followed my lead, and I pulled her hand to leave and go find a place to hook up. It was great. We had a real connection. She jumped my bones like it was the last time she was ever going to have sex with a guy, and she even suggested certain positions she could think of. In that moment, the GBD was high. While we were in the throes, she mentioned things to me like, I've been a sex addict before. She even suggested that I take the condom off because she's on the pill and it's too painful when guys wear condoms. In my head, I said it's not a good idea to do this, but I did take it off and go in raw a few times. But then I put on another condom to make sure I was protected in the end. After we were done, she behaved disrespectfully, and she was way different from the first couple of hours. She was saying things. She was rude to me. She was very flippant. She responded, "Don't talk to me that way," when I was trying to be playful with her. I thought she could potentially be a good plate for me, feminine, cute, agreeable, but she became way different after we slept together. I don't understand the type of irrationally from this woman. I became aloof and silent so I could avoid the train wreck. Wouldn't let it ruin my night. I dropped her off, unmatched, deleted her number, and walked away. My question is, how do I gauge GBD versus this type of personality? Remember we talked about GBD versus BPD? Mm-hmm. How would you deal with this type of behavior, and how can I better screen this going forward?
Yeah, the overlap for sure. It did in that case. I saw that guy's post.
Totally.
I was reading it about an hour ago. Yeah, when you spot crazy, you put some distance between you and crazy. You want to stay away from the psychopaths. Red flag number 7, violent women. It's usually those types of women. He's also having unprotected sex with the chicks because she says that it hurts too much, which I don't buy. I mean, with sufficient lubrication, I don't know why that would be a problem. Which means that she probably convinces other guys to do that. Who the hell knows if she's got an STD? Like, there's all kinds of problems there. Like there's red flag after red flag with this chick. So it's just like, and then like the whole disrespect afterwards. It's like for me, that's a deal breaker. If a chick's just gonna mouth off and get funky with you, sort of thing, it's like, nah, I'm good. Bye. Just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one was interesting. I mean, that's generally not how any girl is going to act after sex. Like, she should be cuddling with you. She should be close to you. She should be having a good
Should be
time.
making you a sandwich.
She should be making. Yeah, well, there you go.
Are you hungry? Can I make you a sandwich?
So
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the fact that she's saying take the condom off. I mean, I was like, this sounds like maybe she was trying to trap you. Like one or two things. I was like, maybe she's trying to trap you and it didn't work, or two, maybe she felt disrespected or she was mad at you after you took the condom off, but then you put one back on because you thought better of it. So yeah, and the fact that she's saying like, oh, I've been a sex addict before, again, on one hand, maybe she's telling guys what she thinks they want to hear, but on the other hand, this just leads me to believe this chick is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? Like she said, she's not into one night stands. And then 20 minutes later, she's telling you to take the condom off. Like this is, yeah, he did the right thing by avoiding. Like, I'm glad the question wasn't, hey man, should I like wait a couple days and text her again? Because believe me, there's guys out there that will do that, but he did the right thing. He didn't escalate. He didn't get himself into the hot water where he could get in trouble or anything like that. Dropped her off, deleted her, moved on, all good stuff. As long as you didn't bring her back to your place and she knows where you live and things like that, you should be in the clear. But yeah, man, like you just never really know. So this is the risk you run sometimes if you go for, and I'm not averse to this. Like I know you and I differ on this, but I am more for guys trying to pull on the first date because I think the faster you can get laid with a chick, the faster, and in this case, it happened and it worked, the faster you can actually see how she really is, how she's, and the fast to see if she's actually into you because now she's competing now she's competing for your attention because you got what you wanted from her and now she's trying to get what she wants from you. But this is sometimes a risk you run, right? If you pull with a chick and you haven't taken the time to vet her, kind of understand her background, things like that, you take all this stuff at face value, this is stuff that can happen. So yeah, the faster you can vet them, sure, but you can also find yourself in some wacky situations like this. So did all the right things, and you just chalk this one up as you don't really know. Yeah,
I'm not opposed to closing deal on the first date. Like if she's down, let's go. Like it's it's gonna happen, but it's just I'm more about like give it an hour, sniff test. It's all about public place, so you can see if she's a psycho or not, sort of thing. But if you're going to close the deal, do it, like have fun. Just be careful and don't be raw dogging chicks that you don't fucking know either.
See, the STD thing gets brought up a lot, which I think it's not as a big deal as it used to be. Like modern medicine has come a long way. I mean, there are a few out there that you stay with forever and for life, but those are generally like herpes, for example. Pretty much everybody has one form of, like, it's super common. It's like you ever got cold sores, you have one version of herpes, right? So pretty much everyone has it that's out there. If it's incredibly rare to contract something like that, though, if somebody's not broken out. Like somebody it can be dormant for years, it can never show any symptoms, never show any signs. But most things out there, it's like take a shot, take a pill, chill for a week, and you're good. So again, I'm not advocating go and raw dog girls and that sort of thing. I think it's more important to protect yourself from having a kid with the woman that you don't want to have a kid with. But the STD thing I think is largely overblown. Like it's not really that big a deal. And the type of people that are getting HIV/AIDS are not generally straight women and straight guys anyway. So I don't really think you've got anything to worry about there. All right, what else we got? Let's go to some from the community tab on YouTube. We got a couple here. Actually, there's one more. I mean, I hate this question so much, but I'm going to answer it anyway. I get so many tabs open. Monk mode. Is it ever good? Why or why not? Should I go monk mode? Should I avoid monk mode? I think we talk about this a lot, but I think it's fine to hash this. Is it ever a good idea? If so, when? If not, why not? I think specifically we're talking about monk mode, like swearing off of women.
Yeah, like MGTOW sort of thing. It's like jerk off mode, basically, is what these guys are doing. They're basically telling themselves a story about, I am just going to go and do my own thing right now and not deal with women and focus on myself and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, for how long? I mean, like, visit the town, but don't live there for very long. You know what I mean? Like if you need a week or two or like a break, or you're going to like do something of some value or significance, go on a fucking hike for a week or something like that. I don't know. Get a motorcycle and ride from the tip of the continent, the other side, or something like that over 3 weeks. That's what I would be doing. But like most of the guys are like, oh, I'm just going to go monk mode. It's just a cope. Like, you know, like monk mode for them is sitting down, playing video games and getting stoned for 3 weeks straight. Right. And eating Doritos and putting on 15 pounds. That's not a very good use of your time. You know, there's a time and place for video games and drugs, obviously, but don't turn into a cope where it's like a permanent town that you move to. You know, like do something with that time.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree. I think it's largely a cope. I mean, if there's something you're going after, a competition, an event, trying to win an award, something where you need to fully dedicate yourself, like a bodybuilding competition, any sort of fitness event or competition where it's like, all right, for the next 3 months, I need to make sure all my nutrition is on point. I need to not drink alcohol. I need to be in bed every night by 9 p.m. and up at 5. So I'm not going to be out running around, taking girls on dates, things like that. I'm going to delete the dating apps. That's one thing. But to sit here, I think when guys talk about monk mode, they're talking about extended periods of time, like 6 months to 12 months to a very long time. And they often aren't doing any work to supplement that extra time. To your point, they're just like focusing on video games, or they say, oh, I'm going to focus on improving myself, but they never really are. And so
you don't do anything to improve yourself.
You don't do anything. And in the meantime, it's like, it's always funny. It's always with women. It's like, I never hear guys ask me, it's like, hey man, should I take a year break off of the gym so I can build a business? Should I not lift any weights or never do any physical activity because I'm busy doing this other thing? It's like, no, you need to find a way to bake that into your schedule, because it's a muscle, just like anything else. If you don't use it, you lose it. So it's going to be way harder for you to pick things back up if you let it sit dormant for 3, 6 months, 12 months, or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden years have gone by and now you can't even stumble back into the dating game because you just have no skills. So yeah, I don't generally recommend it. But if you were to come to me and say, hey, like, yeah, I've got something super important. I have a deadline I have to hit, and I have to maintain all of these things. It's like, yeah, cool, man. Maybe you can power it down for a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But if you're just struggling and saying, I'm not getting the results I want, then I'm just not convinced that you are going to replace the pain of, like, you need to go through the pain of getting shot down, and you need to go through the pain of rejection. You need to not avoid it. You need to go out and still continue to put up shots and try and see what works. It's like the question we got a couple of weeks ago, where the guy's like, well, how will I know when I'm ready to go back out there and date? It's like, how do you know when you're ready to do anything? How will you know you're ready to run 12 miles? How do you just don't until you try it and do it and figure it out? And if you can do it, great. Now you need to focus on that next thing. If you can't do it, then you need to realize you got some more work to do, readjust, and get back out there. So never is my opinion, unless you have a very, very specific reason to, and even that's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a business one. Here we go. Business. Where's one? I got all these tabs open. Actually, let's go back to this one until I find it, and then go to business in a second. So this one's about navigating tribes and identifying bad company is the title. My question is how to differentiate between witty banter. This is good. Differentiating between witty banter among a friend group and demeaning treatment. As a kid, I allowed myself to be an introvert, and I was never very assertive in my words or actions. Following unplugging, I made the decision to hang out with more assertive men and do things like motorcycling, airsofting, camping, things like that. I started to see some changes in my frame and my attitude, but there's still work to be done. That being said, I found that some of the groups of men I started to hang out with will initially accept me as part of the pack, but some of my beta tendencies, like indecision and lack of wit, they start to become apparent, and I gradually get pushed out by them. I notice I still struggle with banter, and I'm already working on it, but I'd like to know your perspective on identifying when a group of friends is messing around or when they're being anchors. Should I face it head on and hang around masculine guys until those beta behaviors wear off, or should a proper tribe be like taking a frying pan to the forehead?
Well, you'll know because your friends will defend you to your back. Right? Like they'll talk shit to your face, but they'll defend you to your back. Like that's what real friends do. Simple as that.
And how would you like differentiate that? Right? Because there's some people say there's always truth in jest, right? So it's like if you get messed with a lot, you know, I mean, how would you split that difference?
I don't know. Like as long as it like, you know, jest is fine. Like we jest all the time. Like, you know, if you talk about that, we do it with the boys, you know, we did it in Panama. We've done it when we get together all the time, but it's like, it never really gets to disrespect. It might sound like disrespect to somebody just sort of walking into the room and hearing the conversation. But it never gets to the point where it's just like, you know, a fight's going to break out. You're going to like, you know, it's at the wrong spot if you want to punch the guy in the face, basically. Right. If you're like, hey, come over here. Right.
Got something to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, for me, the marker is the guy's going to speak highly of you to your back. Like when you're not around, like that's a mark of a friend. That's a mark of a good, strong network. You know, the bullshitting around and like the flicking boogers at each other, that's totally normal. Like, you know, we do it all the time. Like I make fun of our friends in the circle. They've got a nice car and they don't drive it. It's like, you know, what are you doing? You saving it, you know, like you're saving a girlfriend, like you're not going to bang her to keep her tight for the next guy, right? You make fun of them, right? And it's like, you know, they laugh it off sort of thing. And it's like, whatever, you move on, right? But, you know, guys like that are my boys, and I'll always protect, you know, their character when they're not around. And that's what you want to look for. I mean, one of the reasons, you know, for those of you that have watched my shit for a while that have asked me about, you know, like the manosphere sort of thing, you know, which I call the manoswamp, is a lot of times the vast majority of the guys that I ran across in that space would pretend to be your friend to your face, and then they would talk shit to your back. And then it eventually gets back to you, especially in like social circles and, you know, networks and communities and stuff like that. But that's a sign of a weak community, weak men, and problems. You just don't want to deal with that, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say this because it's just, you can just, like, to your point, like you can always just kind of tell. You can just kind of tell, like the way someone's talking to you, if they're doing it in a funny way, they're smiling, they're joking around, you kind of know. If somebody is being disrespectful versus banter, you kind of know. I think that, you know, there's this, if you're trying to join a group or you're joining a tribe or you're trying something new, like if you're going to join our community, for example, you know, it's unlikely that the first interaction I have with you, I'm going to be ragging on you because we haven't built up that rapport yet. And so it's something that you should, if guys are cracking jokes and guys are jawing at you and ribbing at you a little bit and having a good time, you should take that as like, I'm being accepted into this group. I'm being accepted as a member of this. And that's kind of, it's evolutionarily how we've determined whether a guy is fit for the group or not. Does he have wit? Does he have intelligence? Is he able to be knocked back? If I say something that's kind of a dig at him, is he going to throw a hissy fit? Is he going to take it too seriously? Or is he going to shut down? Is he going to lose frame? Or is he going to give it back to me? Right. So is he going to show that if somebody presses him or somebody tests him, that he's not going to back down, or he's got his ability to fire back, right? It's really how men kind of shit test each other to see if they're competent and that's somebody they want to be around. So I would say, yeah, if you're in a group or you're part of something and people are not acting that way, then it's kind of like you kind of should be worried. And maybe you need to seek out, you know, or you just need to work on that, become more socially calibrated. And it takes a little bit of time, I think, to build that up into a group, but we've got a lot of core members now, and that's kind of just how we interact with each other. We always kind of go back and forth and we jaw at each other, and some do it more than others, but it's like the guys that are tightest and the guys that are closest seem to jaw at each other and kind of rib each other the most. So yeah, that's just kind of the way that guys interact with each other. So I think if you're struggling with trying to find your identity, then you need to put yourself in the fire. You need to get out there. You need to work on your social calibration for sure. And it just takes time and it takes reps, but you kind of need to establish that you're not crazy first and that guys can trust you and be around you and you're not there for weirdly or nefarious means. But if you are finding that you're not getting those signals or indications that you're welcomed in, guys aren't kind of messing with you, things like that, then it's not working in the right direction. You need to kind of switch some things up. So yeah, that happens. A lot of guys will let their beta tendencies and their nice guy tendencies kind of come into the group, and it's dog eat dog. Like, you think women are brutal, but men are just as brutal, man, because we don't want guys around us that we can't joke around with and that we don't trust and we don't think are going to be able to stand up for themselves if shit actually, you know, hits the fan. So yeah, be around those guys for sure, but you can't just wait for people to take you under their wing and take you along. Like, you're going to have to maybe ruffle some feathers so guys think you're actually a dude that, you know, can joke around and can run with them. So that's just the way that it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, be useful and non-reactive. A lot of problems, things with that. Yeah, good point. Like, strong point. Your true friends will call you out on your BS without being disrespectful. That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Lucian asked more info about your community. Just go to entrepreneursandcars.com/community. It's all there. We've got a ticker, but we're going to run this one tonight. So entrepreneursandcars.com/community. It's all there.
Yep.
All right. Let's get to the business one yet. So this one's a young guy. So I'm 24 and I'm curious if I should, this is like kind of a two-parter. 24 and I'm trying to decide if I should continue to save and invest or use my current capital to improve myself and grow my business. I'm working on building the business as a pool service and repair service. My goal is to do 80 accounts at $150 monthly plus repairs as needed. That equates to 16 pools a day, roughly 40 hours a week, $12K a month in revenue, scalable to eventually hire on other employees and techs. My location is, I'm in Arizona, so the demand for pool service is high. My dad operates similarly. I've been around the industry my whole life. I know the ins and outs. He's eventually looking to hand over his accounts to me, so I'm considering going all in with this industry and leveraging it. I've got the LLC, I've got the business bank account, licenses, insurances, etc. But I currently myself only have one customer, and I'm taking it slow to test the waters. I do 1099 contracting work for other pool guys in the area, and I make about $800 a week, only working 4 days. I have $7K in the bank plus a $2,000 investment, individual retirement fund. What would you do in my situation?
What did he say? He said 80 pools at 150?
80 pools at 150 a month, I think he said. Yeah. So 12K in revenue, 12 grand a month. But 16 pools a day, like, I mean, if you're fully scaled, maybe, but you're not doing 16 pools a day by yourself. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, he's only talking 144,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, it's, if you're going to put all that effort into a business, why do it for $144,000 a year? Why not $2.4 million a year? Right. He's got $7 grand in the bank. How much is the School of Entrepreneurship?
Right now it's $1,500 annually.
Buy the School of Entrepreneurship. Take $1,500, buy the School of Entrepreneurship, and take 7 hours binge watching the whole fucking thing. Show up for the Zoom calls, ask questions, and create a business that makes you more than $144,000 a year. It's got recurring revenue. That's good because you got, you know, subscribers paying monthly. I don't know what the winters are like in Arizona. Do people swim in the winter in like Arizona? Like, is it hot enough?
I think it's hot year round. They don't really have much winter. So you can, in Arizona, you can pretty much swim year round. It's like Southern California.
Pools are open in January. Like, people have heaters on.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it gets even cold enough that you would have to cover your pool and shut it down.
Okay. So, I mean, if it's a year round business and he's got the 80 clients, like, it's still $144,000 a year, right? So he's got the subscription revenue. It's not scalable. It's not location independent. It's going to require headcount. You're exchanging time for money. It's not a good business. It's a business. You can do it. You can make some money at it, but it's not a great business. It's not scalable. It's not really sellable. So no, I don't like it. I would take the $1,500, buy the School of Entrepreneurship, and learn how to build a proper business that's scalable, that is sellable, that's location independent, that has minimum headcount and employees. Maybe you've seen something in the pool industry that doesn't work well that you can offer a solution to, and sell that to people that are looking to do, you know, $150 a month for 80 pools or whatever it is. You know, you charge them something for software or for scheduling, or I don't know, recurring, or recurring shipping of chemicals or whatever it happens to be. I don't know the business. Like, I'm just spitting shit out there, but it's like, it's not a good business because it's not scalable. Like, if the business isn't going to make $1 million a year, why are you fucking even looking at it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is basics, guys. This is basic school of entrepreneurship. This is basic elf business, or this is basic half business, essentially. Not scalable, location dependent. Luckily for you, it's not seasonal, but I'm guessing it does tend to slow down at some point. I mean, you're going to have to hire employees. You're going to have to manage those employees. It sounds like it's not making that you're trading time for money. You've got overhead. You got to maintain equipment. You've got to go. It's not just the cleaning. You're talking about repairs as needed as well. So, yeah, this is a shortcut business. This is, my dad's already set it up. He's already got the paperwork. I've already got the LLC, the 1099. What you're talking about is a sunk cost. Just because all of this stuff is already set up for you doesn't mean it makes sense to continue sinking any more time, effort, and an investment in it, because that, again, the sunk cost, right? It's already done, so I need to keep doing it. It's like, no, that time, that money, that energy, that paperwork, it's already done. You don't have to continue with it. Yeah. So, and it's like, you're going to make money in your 30s and 40s, man. Like $7,000 is not a lot of money. Maybe 24. And if you've never had a job before, maybe you've been saving from like graduation, some odd jobs and some things like that. But yeah, like we were talking about this on a private Zoom call today. Like if you guys are not, you've got to be willing to take risks. You've got to be willing to spend money to get yourself in the right rooms. You got to be willing to spend money to learn things, to acquire. Like you did a great video on this maybe a year ago where you're like, if I was down to my last $5,000, what would I do with it? Or what would you do with $5,000? Would you put it in Bitcoin? Would you put it in ETFs? Would you put it in the stock market? And you're like, I would invest it in myself. I'd buy courses, or I'd buy books, or I'd buy tickets to important conferences so I could actually meet people and put myself in better rooms. And this isn't any of that. So, you know, this is looking for justification to continue doing something negative, doing something that's not going to work out for you in the long run. You know, and you're talking about, I mean, what's the end goal here? Just scale till you can't scale anymore. I mean, how many pools are there in all of Arizona? Maybe you expand it to another state, but then you've got to worry about more employees. The more you grow and expand, the less quality you have control over. So, yeah, not something I would necessarily pursue. I would focus on finding the very basics of a location independent, no to low overhead business, a company of one. Those should be non-starters for people that are thinking about running a business. If your business is location dependent, you have employees / overhead, you deal with any sort of inventory, and you're trading time for money, then right off the bat, you're starting off negatively. You're starting off in the red.
Definitely needs to be making over $1 million a year if you're running that kind of shit. But yeah, it should be sellable at least. Fuck. I mean, like we have a friend that's in waste management, not like Tony Soprano style, but you know, we have a friend that's in waste management that just sold his second fucking business. He did really well at it, like very fucking quickly. But it's one of those businesses that makes several $1 million a year, right?
Yeah. There's another guy that's got a window cleaning business. It's in our community, but he doesn't own any of the inventory. He's basically the middleman. So the people call him, and he has all these contractors that basically have their own, equipment. And he's like, hey, he calls them up. He says, go do this job. And then he gets a rip. So, you know, he doesn't have to pay for their overhead. He doesn't necessarily have to pay, for benefits or salaries or things like that. He's sort of the liaison. He's the director of the traffic. So it works for him, and he does very well. And he also does very well because he runs his business in a very affluent area of the country. So even though he may be doing a location independent business, he's doing it for very well-off people like Southern California, Orange County, the kind of people that pay to get their windows cleaned, if you know what I mean. Like those are the people that he's dealing with. So,
and I dropped the link for the School of Entrepreneurship in the chat if you guys are interested.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely join that, man. It's. I mean, all the stuff you guys want to know about businesses and starting a business. Would you rather spend all your time and spend a bunch of money making mistakes that you have to go back and reverse, or know this stuff right off the bat so you don't make those mistakes in the first place? Pretty simple if you ask me.
Yep.
All right. Recent separation questions. I recently separated from my ex, and we have a few fairly passive projects that we're both invested in and still communicate on. We were together for 1.5 years. We officially separated a few months ago. By the very next month, so we separated in December. I bounced on her. but by mid-January, she found another guy who's someone that I hosted when I ran an in-person men groups last year and met through other various gatherings. We had a few good talks, but he's closer to the friend state than an acquaintance, although we don't talk super often. I found out from my ex that they are now a couple, but he hasn't approached me to say anything. I feel a bit of betrayal in two ways. One, on the fact that she replaced me so fast, and for two, that he didn't contact me to say, hey, I'm interested in your ex. For me, this is an honor and code of conduct violation. A friend's ex is either off limits or there must be some conversation with the guy. My question is this a common code of conduct, or am I expecting too much here? If I'm out of line, let me know, but I'm looking for your perspective.
Doesn't really sound like a friend if he's some random acquaintance that he ran into an event, though, does he?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably your first problem. I mean, maybe you overestimated how close friends you guys were, for sure.
I mean, yeah, your friend shouldn't be banging your exes, but you didn't describe him like a friend. You described him like arm's length sort of acquaintance that you kind of knew, sort of thing, whatever.
Maybe getting close to you so we could get close to your ex.
Yeah. And, women move fast, man. Just, you want to see how fast women move? Read Sperm Wars by Robin Baker. You'll see how fast they move. Sometimes it's within the same fucking night. It is what it is. Women move quickly. What are you going to do? Sun is hot, water's wet.
Yeah. And I would break off from this stuff, man. Like, if she's your ex, let her be your ex. Take your percentage of your projects, let her buy you out. And just be done with it.
Why you don't get into business with chicks?
Yeah, my God. If you don't have kids and you don't have anything that's keeping you together like that, then there's just no reason to continue being involved. There's just too much risk for you backsliding, doing something stupid, drunk dialing her at 2 a.m., telling you still love her and all this bullshit. Or her having an excuse to say anything that might get you kicked out of the business. Or so one, like, get used to it, dude. She betrayed you. Yeah, she moved on quickly. Welcome to women. That's just what it is. I mean, look up war brides. Look up the reasons women move on faster than men do. If you're broken up, I mean, she literally no longer cares about you at all, despite what she says. She doesn't care. She doesn't want to be your friend. She doesn't think about you. There's nothing. She has no room or space in her head or brain for you anymore. You are dead to her. That's it. As far as this guy goes, yeah, maybe I mean, if he was your friend, he's clearly not. And I mean, what are you going to do? Fight the guy? Like, he didn't call you and say, I'm interested in your ex. It's like, okay, I mean, there's nothing you can do. They're together. There's no reason to continue keeping any sort of friendship after the fact. Dudes move in. Like, you can't really do anything about it, man. So you just cut the bridge. Like, you move on, you delete both their numbers, you block them on everything. And that's just the end of it. So there's no use getting upset about this.
You had a nice car for a little while. You put some miles on it. You beat the shit out of it. You had your fun. And, the next owner.
That's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, it's somebody else's problem.
That's somebody else's problem. But the fact is, if you're still connected to her in some way, business-wise, you're going to have to see this and deal with it. So remove yourself. There's really no reason to continue doing it. All right, let's get this one's always interesting. And you can we can pass on this if you want to, but this hasn't been brought up in a while. This is from YouTube. What is your opinion on Corey Wayne's book / advice?
I get that question every couple of years for some reason. It's always Corey Wayne I don't know. He's, his name and his book was mentioned to me 2017. I thought, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And I downloaded his book and I listened to it. And I just had a hard time with it. Like, he really lost me when he talked about, oh, you can have a wonderful relationship with a single mom and they really can't be cherished, or like some nonsense like that. And then there was another parts of the book where he talks about, like, if you go out on a Saturday, then you want to wait until about the Tuesday before you do this, or, there's a maneuvering of this, that. It's like, sometimes the chick's just hot to trot, and it's like, she wants it and she's down, and she just, like, that's it. It's the same night kind of lay scenario, and the follow-up, happens the next day. And it's just like a lot. He just comes off as a big dork to me, if I can put it that way. And I'm sure some of his stuff is okay, but I never really paid too much attention to it after I found a lot of stuff in his book. Like, I thought to myself after I think it's called A 3% Man or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think I actually, at that time, I was doing book reviews on my YouTube channel, and I did a book review on Anti-Fragile. I did one on Rational Male. And on that one, I did a video, and I think it's still unpublished on my main channel. I never published it because it wasn't a favorable, positive review. I just didn't like it. And I think what I had concluded was there's some stuff in it that might be useful, but you won't be a 3% man reading this shit. I'm like, at best, you'll probably be like 30%, like top 30%. So, take it with a grain of salt. I don't think his stuff is great.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think
doesn't like me either, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because I found his stuff before I found your stuff. So I think he's a lot of guys' introduction to the unplugging aspect of things. Because what's the first thing that every guy ever does when they get broken up with? They go, how do I get my ex back?
Yeah.
And so he uses a lot of those keywords and terminologies. At first I found this guy, he calls himself Breakup Brad. And he had this whole like system that you could buy, and it was like create a fake Facebook and post pictures with like women that you hire and post it so she can see it. And it's just like create this entire fake persona. I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like the 30-day no contact rule. So I think those big guys are like the biggest grifters on the planet. The whole getting your ex back thing. Like, dude, we would make so much fucking money if we would devise a plan on how to 30 days to get your ex back. Like even versus we say like, don't bother, like, don't do it. Like it's a waste of your time. Leave her alone forever. So I think he's a lot of guys' first introduction. And I do think he's got some decent things to say around on being interesting. Don't be boring. Basic rules of texting, basic rules of setting dates. One thing I learned from him off the rip was the phone is not for chit-chatting. The phone is not for FaceTiming. The phone is not for hour-long phone calls. The phone is for setting dates, and that's it only. Teaching you how to keep your attention scarce, or that if a girl reaches out to you for any reason whatsoever, it's because she wants you to ask her out, or you have to at least act and assume that way. You might not always be right. Some girl might just be sending you something funny or like liking a heart emoji on your story or something like that. But you have to act as if any girl is reaching out to you or putting herself in your orbit, it's because she's interested, and you should take a shot and ask her out, because even if it's not 100% of the time, like you'll hit on more than you'll lose, in my opinion.
Yeah. Top 30%.
He actually blocked me on Instagram because
really?
when Tate started getting big, he made some video about like beware of the toxic red pill. And he was saying the same old stupid regurgitations that everybody else says, like red pill guys are just incels. They hate women. So they take out all their frustrations. They can't get laid. And I was like, dude, this is a complete misrepresentation. He actually had
Did his wife make him say that?
No, but I'm not going to say the guy's name, but he had a prominent Mano Swamp figure on his show that he interviewed. He wears a red hat, if that's any indication.
Oh, the red hat.
And I was just like, dude, like on one hand, you're having this. So it's like, he just became another grifter. It's like red pill is becoming mainstream and it's getting big. So you're going to make a video and you're going to basically try to clown on it, because he doesn't talk about Evo Psych at all in his book or in any of his studies. I totally agree about the single mom thing, became like Mr. Mom to this other, and this kid that he talks about.
Yeah. He got in a relationship with
a single mom. And also he's really lazy about how he wrote that book. Like at least a dozen times, maybe more. He's like, make sure you Google Corey Wayne, get your ex back, and my YouTube videos will pop up. Make sure you Google Corey Wayne, how to set a date, and go watch me on YouTube. It's like, dude, I'm already reading your book. Like how much self-promotion could you possibly be doing? So he got mad at me when I said that. I was like, dude, this is super disingenuous. You're going to sit here and use this, but you're completely misrepresenting, quote unquote, the red pill. And he just blocked me. And I was like, this guy's fucking so soft, dude. So, yeah, I think he's fine as an introduction. I think he's got some good basic nuggets foundationally, but Corey Wayne, if you haven't moved on from Corey Wayne, then like, it's like playing in the kiddie pool. It's a sandbox. It's the very beginning. You need to learn some things and then graduate to people that actually know what they're talking about.
Go find a single mom with some tattoos and wife her up. Yeah,
go for it, man. Yeah, go for it. How are we doing on time? You still want to keep going?
Yeah, let's keep going, man.
All right, got a couple more. Let's see here. This is always a good one. We actually were talking about this earlier before we hopped on the show, but this is a question about it's just a roundabout. Like, what are the phases and timelines for an LDR, long distance relationship? Do's and don'ts. How to ensure and safeguard trust in the relationship, especially this is actually from a woman, it sounds like, but we can talk about
Yeah.
it at all,
No, I'm
especially if I'm
looking
not
at
on
it
social
right here.
media. Yeah, there you go. So I can watch his words and his moves, but he has no view into my life except for my words. Thanks.
Fucking long distance relationship questions. Like, I just don't do it. Like, don't. It's called, like, the R in the LDR stands for relationship, and you don't have a relationship if there's no physical touch. If it's temporary, if it's for like a month or a few weeks or something like that, fine, whatever. But if you're one of these people that's like, I'm in a long distance relationship and, you know, I live in New York and he lives in LA or whatever, why? Like, what's the point? You know, it's like you get on your phone call at your scheduled time at 9:45 every night. You talk for fucking an hour about stupid shit, and you don't see each other for months at a time until you can scrape together a couple bucks to make a flight out or something like that. Like, it's a scarcity thing, you know. People only hold on to long distance relationships because it's all they got, and they don't think that they can do better locally. It's like, there's 8 billion people on a planet. Half of them are the opposite sex. You can't find a fucking replacement. Like, come on.
Yeah, there's very few justifications for a long distance relationship. I mean, I know we're in the internet age and people can meet on Reddit or wherever the hell people meet these days, these freaking autists. But if there's a definite, and even then, this is limited to a certain amount of months. I mean, this is not something that should go for very long. But if there's a definite start and end time, it's like, hey, listen, I have to, and it really should only be if the guy is the one that has to create the distance. If you're in a relationship with a chick and she's like, hey, I want to go be a luxury handbag salesperson in Ibiza for 3 months. I'll see you when I get back, buddy. Right? Done. If you're a guy that's like, look, I'm going to go to XYZ place. If for whatever reason I needed to leave Florida, let's say I'm with a chick or something like that. It's like, hey, I need to go spend 3 months here off the grid. I'm going to go train, level up, increase my business. You know, I need to put this relationship on hold because I have to worry about myself, putting myself first, mental point of origin. That's one thing. But even if that's the case, like, you're still playing with fire. There's no guarantee that she's not going to do some stuff or screw around behind your back. And in that case, like, it would only have to be for a short while, maybe a couple of weeks, a couple of months tops. If you're a guy that's like, yeah, I'm going to go away for 6 to 8 months or a year, dude, like, it's really, I don't know. I don't really see the point of it. But the reason that LDRs at their core don't work, especially if you're a guy, is because you want intimacy, you want touch, you want sex. You don't get that in LDR. What do women want? Yeah, they want intimacy and touch and sex, but they certainly would prefer, or they certainly are okay or more okay with getting your emotional response, talking to you on the phone, telling you about their day, bitching about the stuff that Becky said today at work that she didn't like. She's getting all of your emotional sort of care and your the emotional support that women want, but she doesn't have to give you any of. You're basically in the friend zone. She's basically turned you into the friend because she gets everything that she wants. You get nothing that you want, and so, you know, I don't see a situation ever where it makes sense unless it's on a very temporary basis, and you also have somebody that you trust that can sort of keep an eye on her in some way, keep an eye on her social media, keep an eye on who she might be spending her time with. I don't know, hire a PI. Maybe that's what I would do. So, but overall, like, there's probably just no real reason to do it. If a girl is suggesting it because she wants to go chase a dream or get a job somewhere. I mean, we had the girl on ladies' night last week that was moving from Florida to St. Louis to go work a roofing job. And she was dating some dude at the time, and she was talking about how they're still going to try to make it work. And we're like, what are you doing? Like, what's this guy's deal? What are you talking about, man?
So she was going to go work with him in St. Louis as a roofer?
He was going to stay in Florida.
Oh, and she wanted to take a roofing job?
She already did. She was moving. She was moving across the country. Dude, what was wild about that?
All day long
he was in the room when she was talking about it, and he like popped in on the podcast, and I was like, buddy, what's going on?
You called him?
I was like, dude, are you gonna do like? She says you guys are gonna try to make it work. Are you? He was like, no. And then she was like, I thought you said we were gonna try to. Blah, blah. It was wild, dude. Okay. If you could go back and find that like 5 minutes. I was like, all right, we got to get off this, but. Yeah, there's really just no reason to do it. I mean, you have no options if that's the case. There's just no woman in the world that is worth being in a relationship with that you can't be around, that you can't see,
It's not a
smell,
relationship.
touch. It's not. It's your
You're
friend.
pals.
Your
You're like
friend
pen
zone.
pals, basically.
Your buddies.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. What else we got here? Let me find this tab. Long distance. Corey Wayne, LDR. We talk about this a lot. Like, this is a quick one though. How does high notch count affect the dynamic of a relationship? He doesn't specify guy or girl.
Teach from
You
study.
can skip it.
We'll talk about it quickly.
Talk about it. Talk about it while I'm looking for the other ones.
Just look up the Teachman study, man. It's like as women share her body with more men, her ability to pair bond, be happy in the relationship goes down dramatically. It's just science, bitch. It's just the way it is. You want as low a notch count as possible, as little baggage as possible, and that's just the way it is. I think the numbers are something like the probability of a successful marriage is something like 80% if she's a virgin, and I think if there's like 8 or more partners, it goes down to like 30%. And with every partner, it just gets worse. So like partner number 2, partner number 3, it just keeps sliding down the scale. So very simple. We've talked about this a million times. We have to beat it up.
No, we certainly don't. Let's grab this. I think this is one of the last ones I have. Let's grab this one. I think this is a good one.
Teachman, correct. Teachman. Exactly how you spelled it.
Yeah. Reactions to wives and girlfriends that disrespect their men. So, and I've got to kind of paraphrase this because this first language is clearly not English. So excuse me if I stumble over this a bit. So yesterday I went to visit a friend who just had a second child. I didn't know what to bring, so I brought some flowers as a congratulations, and I want to check out how things are going. I gave the flowers to the mother, and she said something like to the effect of, "I've done more for her than her husband," in front of the children. And she said that in front of the children and my friend, her husband. I quickly made a joke to try to compliment my friend in front of his son, in front of the family. But I've already found out there are a few wives and girlfriends of my friends that are doing and saying similar things. A couple weeks ago, there was another wife making jokes about the role of the father in the gestation of the children in front of their children and other adults, including myself. Something like the job of the man was only 3 minutes long, and the woman has to put up with it for 9 months. I checked with my friend. He appeared embarrassed, and he said he already talked about it with his wife. He's a very religious person, so these kinds of jokes are tough on him. My question is, what are the most useful answers in these kinds of situations? How should I approach these? I usually don't engage in these kinds of conversations, but I don't like to see comments made that embarrass men in front of their children. I guess there's probably a lot of worse cases out there, especially in divorce, but this hasn't happened to me as it would happen, hire, slow, fire quickly. It's never happened. And I'm actively looking to avoid women like this and people in general, but I feel sorry for my friends and how they're treated. So is there anything that I can do, anything that I can say either to them or their wives to get them to respect their men more?
So this is not the first time she's disparaged him. We've said this before, and it bears repeating. Contempt is a clock that ticks down to the end of the relationship. She just expressed contempt for her husband in front of other people, which is disrespectful as fuck, if you ask me. I wouldn't have it. But most men, it's like beta-tization through 1,000 concessions. It's not the first instance of contempt. It's happened before. He's allowed it to happen. It probably continues to escalate because he allows it to happen, and it's just going to keep worse. And this is the kind of guy that, in a few years' time, when she gets her body back and she wants to hit the road running, she'll divorce him and take half his shit and the kids too, because she doesn't fucking like the guy. She doesn't like, if a woman speaks about her husband, the father of her children, like that, she's expressing contempt. It's disrespectful. It's bullshit. The way that you can handle it as his friend is you can just remind her how lucky she is to have him. Simple as that. When you get out, Moff, and it's like, people are like, oh, how lucky you are, Moff, to have this blah, blah, blah girl, whatever.
Better half.
Yeah, you better half or some shit like that, or, whatever happens to be. I always look at those people square in the eye and I say, no, she's the one that's lucky to have me. Very fucking serious about it. And that's just the way that, that it is. And she has to roll with that. She has to be like nodding her head, being like, yeah, I am pretty fucking lucky, sort of thing. But if there's like gay banter back and forth, there's contempt, she says something snarky out of it. The person that does, something along the lines of, you're so lucky to have her sort of thing, continues on with it. I just don't have any patience for that. It's like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to, bro? Right? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, have some dignity for yourself.
Yeah, this one's tough because it seems like in these situations, like there's pretty much nothing you can do. Like it's already a lost cause because if you were to say something like that to the wife, and there's also one more question I forgot that we had on this. So it's kind of different, but I'll read it after this. But it's not really your place to check your friend's wife. That's his job. Now, because what is generally going to happen in this scenario, if you were to say something to her, like, yeah, you're going to talk to him like, no, this guy's a killer. What are you talking about? Like and she'll probably fire back at you, or she'll probably go to her husband and say, you need to check your friend. And then he's probably going to talk to you and say, hey man, like you can't really talk to my wife like that, bro. So there's really nothing you can say to her because it's not your place. And more often than not, like you're going to be the one that he checks, not her. Two, you can try to check your buddy and you can pull him aside and be like, dude, you have got to stand up for yourself. You cannot let this woman talk to you like that, especially in front of your kids, especially in front of me and other adults. Like you need to grow some fucking balls, dude. Like reach down between your legs and see if there's two things hanging there. And even if most guys, won't listen because they'll make excuses. Well, like, she was just joking and it's not that big of a deal. Like they'll do the whole happy wife, happy life thing. But even if there's a guy out there that does take it to heart and he's like, you know what, man, you're right. I do need to like get my balls back. I need to reassert myself. He's already most likely too far gone that any sort of reasserting or any sort of boundaries that he tries to draw, she is going to laugh him out of the house, or she's going to cry and scream DV, or she's going to say abuse. So you can try, you can give it a shot. I don't think that it's ever going to work. And you may just have to be in a situation where you have to protect your sanity, dude. And you have to cut those guys off because I don't want to be around. I'm not going to be friends with guys whose wives run their lives and they're going to let them be disparaged in front of themselves or in front of their kids. You just can't be around it. You can't save those guys. So, give them the book, tell them to watch some YouTube videos, extend the hand and say, hey man, this is not the way this stuff should be supposed to go. And that's really all you can do. But understand that the wives aren't going to listen to you and you're probably going to get checked by the guy, or he probably, in an effort to maybe get his own balls back, he might yell at you in front of the wife because he's trying to score some brownie points. So you might ruin that relationship. Two, if you take him aside, he probably won't listen to you. But even if he does, his wife's not going to listen to him. So sadly, the reality is I think that these are people you just can't have in your life. You need to cut them, man. It sounds tough. It sounds harsh, but you cannot be around people and spend your time around people that are going to drag you down, that are going to be sales, or that are going to be anchors, excuse me.
Yep.
Can't do it.
Sales, yep.
All right. Last one here.
Last one.
So been with this girl for a couple of years. She's great, fantastic. Everything I want in a girl. She completely agrees with me on virtually everything. She's 10 years younger. Follows my lead. I can tell her exactly what to do, what to wear, where to go, what to say, everything. So essentially she's completely in my frame and following me. Comes from a great family. She's a single child, has a great relationship with her father. He was always around, very masculine, and he and I are actually a lot alike. We get along very well. The problem is I don't think the problem is that he's been married, or my girl's mother is a bit zany, wacky, and out there. There are times, this is kind of in the same vein as the previous question, like I mentioned. There are times where she gets overbearing. She's generally sometimes doesn't know how to control herself when we're out in public. She's a little bit loud and brash. And, I sense that my girl's dad has a problem with checking her or putting in her place. How do I keep my girl from exhibiting those behaviors? And how do I check essentially this woman or pull my girl's dad aside to let him know that this is not acceptable behavior and something needs to be done? It's a tough one.
If it's your mom and dad, you can do something very easily. The problem is it's her parents.
Yeah.
So the way that I would handle that basically is like, look, your mom's like your mom's sweet lady, blah, 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 sort of thing. You validate the fact that she's the mother, but I'm not going to, do social events, gatherings and stuff like that with her anymore. And that's just the way it's going to be. I don't like her behavior. I don't like the way that she treats your father. I don't like how she speaks to you. I don't like how she speaks to me. Like, you break it down, you spell it out, you aim her eyeballs at it, and you say, look at these things over here, and this is a bottom line for me, and I'm not having it. I don't expect her to change her behavior for me. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, so I'm just not going to participate. I mean, if you like her dad, what's stopping you from, texting him and being like, hey, let's go play a round of golf. You want to shoot some guns? There's a Cars and Coffee on Sunday. You want to grab breakfast or something like that? Nothing wrong with that. But if the mom is just difficult and just a fucking colossal train wreck, which it happens, why are you putting yourself in that room? Why? Because it's your girlfriend's mom? You don't have to be in that room because it's your girlfriend's mom. Fuck it. Just don't.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I don't think I can add much to that. So some guys are saying like, oh, just
it's too short to put up with shitty people.
There you go. Yeah, pretty much summed it up. So yeah, I think I would say the same thing. Like if you have a tight relationship with her dad and you guys are a lot alike, then yeah, pull him aside. Like find some time to, like you said, like shoot guns, go play golf, something like that, and say, hey man, look, like, sometimes your wife gets a little bit, and hopefully you've built up enough rapport where he doesn't take offense to that. But again, like I said, like previously, you never know how a guy like that's going to react because you're calling in his leadership in a relationship. You're calling in, you're basically calling the dude a bitch. You're calling him a beta who can't control his wife. So, and you don't want to put your girl in the situation where she has to be your mouthpiece and she has to now go to her mom and say, well, Bob doesn't like being around you because you're loud and brash and that sort of thing. And it's annoying. And then you're just sowing seeds of, discomfort and you're making things awkward. So, yeah, remove yourself from the situation or confront it head on. But yeah, certainly not an easy one. So
don't forget that, guys. Like, we're all going to die. We're all going to pay taxes. We're all going to die. And life is too short to be around shitty people. It's as simple as that.
Indeed. Cool. That's all we've got for tonight. I think it's good for us to wrap.
Yeah, and if you guys, see posts on community tabs for questions like this, that's where you put them up before the show, or you can just super chat them during the show, and we can do it that way. We're doing the after the show with the guys from the community now. Yeah,
we'll do the after show. Okay. So if you guys want to get in and ask questions directly, sometimes it's hard with just posts, and if you want to get in and kind of chop it up with us, we're doing it. Just go to the School of Unplugging, school.com/School of Unplugging. It should be easy to find. The links are everywhere, and yeah, we'll hang out there for a little bit and then doing ladies night tomorrow. We got a special guest. Spencer and I will be out in Vegas for a special show on Wednesday as well. And then Thursday, probably not going to get back in time to do them office hours, but I do want to do a review of that movie Materialism or Materialist or whatever it was, now that I saw it. So I know people have been asking for a review of that and our thoughts on it. But other than that, we'll be back same time next week as always.
Cool. See you guys later. Got to hit the end stream button. All right, guys. If you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.